Let's face it, if you've played the King of Fighters even once, you've either thrown a fireball, blocked a fireball, or yelled Reppuken in the mirror at some point. Since its bombastic debut in 1994, KOF has been a wild mix of team battles, pixelated bravado, and energy blasts that travel faster than bad decisions. But one thing that has stayed consistent by is, I always fashioned the importance of projectile supers. These moves aren't just for show, they shape how we think. Bait, space. And let's be honest, spam from full screen when we panic. Welcome to the art of projectile warfare KOF style. At the core of the player experience, projectile supers represent decision-making under pressure. For competitive players, these moves are not deployed frivolously. They are reserved for controlling horizontal space, baiting jumps, punishing overcommitted approaches, and closing out rounds. Players often use them to control the flow of the match, setting up traps, forcing blocks, or trading in their favor in tournaments. You'll see masters of spacing like E.T. or Shanghai weaving projectile supers into their combos, or using them to bait reactions from skilled opponents. The effectiveness of a projectile super depends not only on timing, but also on the opponent's habits, the corner position, and the remaining resources. These moments when a projectile is fired not just for damage, but for prediction referent to strategic depth. That makes KOF a thinking person's fighter. Grouping characters by their projectile behavior provides a clearer understanding of SNK's design philosophy. Classic zoners like King, Ryo, and Robert offer consistency and strong neutral control. Their projectile supers operate on linear paths, typically with fast startup and reliable spacing. Psychic zoners like Athena, Bao, and Kensu rely on delayed or floating projectiles that test timing and spacing. Modern characters like Ila Kukri and Dolores bring unconventional trajectories, bouncing or hovering attacks that reflect an evolving design ethos. The evolution of these supers across different versions of the series reveals SNK's meticulous attention to balance and player expectation. In early sprite-based games, projectile supers often had longer startup and minimal combo utility. Over time, as gameplay became faster and systems more flexible, these moves adapted. In KOF 13, characters could chain into projectile supers for cinematic juggles. In KOF 15, the introduction of climax supers brought unprecedented flashier and more varied allowing projectile-based finishers to define entire matchups. EX versions gain extra speed, hit count, or special effects, adding to the tactical variety. The presence or absence of a projectile super can even define a character's tier placement and matchup viability. For example, characters like Athena or King are traditionally viewed as strong neutral contenders, largely because their projectiles allow them to control horizontal space without overcommitting. By contrast, grappler characters often struggle in fireball-heavy matchups, unless they have specific counters or armor-based moves. This rock-paper-scissors dynamic adds layers to KOF's strategy, where projectile dominance can swing the tide of battle before a button is even pressed. In crossover games and spin-offs like SNK Heroines or mobile adaptations, projectile logic is even further expanded. Characters who previously lacked traditional fireballs are often granted one to compensate for altered mechanics or smaller rosters. These adaptations showcase how flexible the idea of a projectile super can be. Even characters like Shermie, traditionally reliant on throws, have been seen using electrical arcs or short-range bursts in alternative formats, each carrying the same principle of range, pressure, and space manipulation. It's also worth examining the sound design and auditory cues associated with projectile supers. Longtime fans can instantly recognize the rising pitch of Orokinaga's charge, the sharp whoosh of a psycho ball in motion, or the thunderous clash of two Reppukens colliding mid-screen. These sounds are not only satisfying, these serve as audio feedback to inform the player of threat and timing. In high-stakes play, these cues matter immensely. A player who hears a projectile startup can react more quickly than one relying on visuals alone. In many ways, projectile supers in KOF are mirrors reflecting not just character design, but the evolution of fighting game theory. Players used to the clear-cut zoning and fireball wars of other franchises are often surprised by the fluid, hybrid nature of KOF's projectile game. Fireballs aren't just ranged tools, they're combo extenders, meaty setups, and even baiting traps. The same projectile that zones in neutral might also seal a juggle or end a block string. This multifunctionality means that players must read their opponents' intent just as much as they rely on mechanical precision. KOF encourages innovation with each projectile, forcing players to adapt creatively depending on matchup and meta. The evolution of net play and rollback netcode has also had an impact on how projectile supers are used. In online play, where reaction times may vary slightly due to latency, the value of predictive projectiles grows. X-Fireballs are max mode supers that once required frame-perfect execution in arcades are now buffered or anticipated differently. This adaptation has created new dynamics where players hedge their timing or layer their zoning around online-specific patterns. It has opened the door for newer players to experiment more with projectile usage, leading to an expanded meta with regional quirks and stylistic variation. Additionally, we must not overlook how community perception and fan culture have immortalized certain projectile supers. Whether it's the repeated meme of "burn to fight" or countless YouTube compilations of or Ochanagi finishes, these supers transcend gameplay. They are brand signatures, memorable sights and sounds that help define the very identity of the KOF franchise. No trailer is complete without a projectile super to close it out. No tournament highlight reel is full without a screen-filling X-Fireball slow-motion victory. Fans not only expect it, they celebrate it, finally. Perhaps what makes projectile supers so beloved is their timelessness. In an era when mechanics come and go parry systems, active switches, assist modest Fireball endures. In KOF, it has matured, transformed, and diversified, but it has never disappeared. That Fireball or energy wave remains a promise that spacing, timing, and mind games still matter. It remains a testament to the fundamentals of fighting games, wrapped in the style and story only SNK can deliver. To conclude this in-depth exploration, we return to the central question: what makes projectile supers in the King of Fighters so significant, so enduring, and so powerful in both gameplay and storytelling? The answer lies in their dual identity mechanically. They are tools precise and technical, honed through decades of design iteration. But culturally, they are semblance of each fighter's will, heritage, and combat philosophy. Whether it's a fiery blast from KYO, a psychic surge from Athena, or an icy arc from Cooler, these moves are more than moves, they are part of the ongoing story of rivalries and pride in the global fighting game community. KOF's projectile supers have achieved a rare status. They are revered, studied, and celebrated across languages and generations. Casual fans love them for their impact and spectacle. Professionals analyze them for frame data, startup animations, and invincibility properties. Game designers cite them as benchmarks in visual feedback and input satisfaction. In every match, on every stage, they still make a difference. So long as the King of Fighters lives on, the projectile super will remain a cornerstone of its DNA. From the tournament arenas of Osaka to the screens of EVO, from pixel flickers in 1994 to the vibrant effects of KOF 15, these moves endure not just because they are useful, but because they are meaningful. They are the intersection of art and mechanics. They are something special, and they will keep burning, flashing, and roaring across the battlefield for generations of players to come. Another fascinating dimension is how projectile supers become lore devices. Consider the evolution of Ash Crimson's flames across the series from soft and decorative in his debut to swirling, unpredictable threats in later entries, as Fire is just Damageite's character development in motion. Similarly, Gonet's Yamadukai tornadoes symbolize divine wrath, punishing those who dare to jump carelessly. Even Kukra's playful sand traps reflect his mischievous personality and evasive identity. In KOF, the projectile becomes an emblem of narrative as well as combat style. Projectile supers are the professors of the fighting game Academito, unforgiving and strangely enlightening. You think you're clever, you toss a psycho ball and bam, punished. But that's how it starts. That's when you learn about commitment, spacing, and the eternal mystery of why you thought it was safe to throw a fireball at point blank.